I knew that in half an hour my aunt, with her old-fashioned, sexist mindset, would bring my cousin over to ask for old clothes. Without hesitation, I deliberately shrank my down jacket by washing it in hot water and completely ruined my wool coat by putting it in the washing machine. In my previous life, I felt sorry for my cousin Mia, who wore the same uniform until she was in 12th grade. So, I gave her all my clothes. But she blamed me for her parents not buying her new clothes. She criticized me, calling me a hypocrite who treated her like a trash can. I knew she was at an age where her self-esteem and competitive nature were very high. For 3 years, despite my boyfriend Sam's objections, I spent 170,000 yuan buying her clothes. It wasn't until her university graduation day that she sent me a payment link for a formal gown worth 70,000 yuan. She said she wanted to wear it to meet an online boyfriend, a wealthy second-generation heir. I realized the conversation was a scam and firmly refused. But to my surprise, the next day, news spread across alumni chat groups that another schoolmate had successfully met a wealthy heir and become his girlfriend, who then moved into a luxurious villa abroad. Seeing someone else prosper, Mia saw me as the culprit who blocked her family's happiness. She colluded with her parents and cruelly murdered my entire family. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at the exact moment she was supposed to come for the clothes. Looking at the pile of old clothes I had intentionally ruined, I mumbled, "Sorry, Mia, these clothes are all too small now. You won't fit them." The familiar ring of the phone startled me. Seeing "Aunt" on the screen, my body instinctively trembled, the pain from my previous life still haunting me. Looking at the familiar scene and the familiar timeline, I knew I had been reborn. "Hello, Lily. Are you home? I'm coming over now." Looking at the pile of old clothes, only half sorted next to me, I suppressed the hatred in my heart. After hanging up, the intense burning sensation and lingering fear still hadn't faded. My mind was filled with the brutal scenes before my death. In my previous life, on Mia's graduation day, she sent me a link for an exquisite formal gown, demanding I pay for it as a graduation gift so she could attend a teacher appreciation party. By then, spoiled by designer clothes and my generosity, she had become lawless and arrogant. She casually pressed the buy button on my phone and forcefully used my fingerprint to authorize the payment. Seeing the 70,000 yuan total, I was shocked and immediately canceled the payment. I questioned her, asking what kind of party required such an expensive gown. She instantly flew into a rage, looking at me like an enemy and criticizing me. "Why are you so stingy, sister? You weren't like this before. Isn't 70,000 yuan worth buying my self-respect? You've spent 170,000 on me over the past 3 years. Are you really going to regret this small amount? Besides, this is the last time. I won't need you to buy me clothes anymore after this." At that moment, I didn't bother refuting her brazenness. I just wondered why it was the last time. After some persistent questioning, she finally admitted that she bought the gown to meet her wealthy second-generation online boyfriend on a yacht. She said that once she married him, she wouldn't need a stingy person like me to pay for things anymore. Looking at their chat history, I patiently explained that it was a scam designed to exploit her psychology. But she insisted it was just an excuse for me not wanting to spend money. Afterward, my aunt and I dragged her home, scolding and pulling her. Who knew that the next day, photos of a schoolmate successfully meeting another wealthy heir and moving into a luxurious villa abroad went viral on the campus network. My aunt first ranted furiously in the family chat group, claiming I had blocked her family's path to wealth. Then, she feigned an apology to make amends, luring me to an abandoned factory. She forced my parents to bring all their assets to exchange for me to compensate her family for their losses. My parents handed over all their money, but that wretched cousin reneged on her promise and sold me to a group of old, desperate bachelors. They filmed me being humiliated and then sold me to the dark web. Ultimately, they set fire to the factory, burning my entire family to death. And my boyfriend, Sam, whom I had hesitated to break up with due to family pressure, was run over by Mia and turned into a vegetable while investigating the truth for me. Her entire family lived freely, above the law, with our money. Thinking of all this, caused by my own soft-heartedness, I was filled with immense regret. Coming back to my senses, I didn't hesitate to ruin all the clothes. This time, I wanted to see how Mia would dream of wealth and luxury without a single decent outfit. I opened the door and seeing my aunt's obsequious smile, I just shivered. She looked around. Lily, are the clothes ready? In my previous life, I hadn't paid attention to Mia's disdainful look, eagerly handing them 2 bags of clothes, only to reap a terrible outcome. But now I feigned regret and looked at them. I'm so sorry, Auntie. I didn't realize Mia had grown so much. When I pulled them out to check, some were too small, some were torn, and some had shrunk. My aunt's expression immediately changed. She angrily pulled out a crumpled down jacket and glared at me, furious. What kind of rags are these? If you weren't sure, why did you promise? You wasted our time and gas coming all this way. I'm telling you, this is your fault, and you'll have to pay for our gas money. Seeing Mia's expression, as if a burden had been lifted, I forced a conciliatory smile. I'm sorry, Auntie, I really didn't mean to. If I had known, how would I dare let you come all this way for nothing? With that, I deliberately scrutinized my cousin. Looking at her cropped trousers and patched-up jacket, I suggested, but Mia is going to university soon, after all, wearing other people's old clothes. Isn't it a bit unseemly? She's at a sensitive age. How about you buy her 2 new outfits, Auntie? Mia, seeing me speak up for her, her eyes reddened, tugged at her mother's sleeve. That's right, Mom. Sister said so too. Can you buy me an outfit? Even a cheap one would be fine. Hearing this, my aunt immediately revealed her true shrewish nature. She shoved Mia's hand away, glaring. Buy what? Doesn't it cost money? What does a girl need pretty clothes for? As long as it can be worn, it's fine. I'm telling you, I send you to school so you can earn money to support your younger brother later, not for you to be promiscuous, neglect your studies, and only seek pleasure. The older the clothes, the better, so you don't run after men. In my previous life, after Mia's criticism, I had said these exact words to my aunt and received the same reply. But back then, Mia thought I was hypocritically putting on a show for her mother, and she was angry with me for a long time. Feeling both guilty and pity, I decided to use money from my salary to buy her clothes. My aunt's expression changed very quickly. She not only stopped mentioning the gas money, but also told Mia to buy whatever she liked. Don't be shy with your rich sister. My boyfriend, seeing me ignore his advice, got so angry he threatened to break up. Now, looking at their strained atmosphere, I pretended to be deaf. Seeing no reaction from me, my aunt angrily dragged a resentful Mia away. In the hallway, the mother and daughter continued to argue about clothes. Slap! A sharp slap echoed. After they left, I quickly contacted a scrap collector to sell off that pile of clothes. Secretly, I rejoiced, finally taking the first step to escape them. Not long after, my parents returned. Their familiar voices, which I hadn't heard in so long, rang in my ears. My nose stung, and I rushed to embrace them tightly. Mom, Dad, are you both okay? Seeing my strange behavior, they laughed and asked, another nightmare. I nodded, and Dad smiled. You silly girl, with Mom and Dad here, any nightmare will pass. My tears fell. At this moment, I vowed to protect them well, to protect this happy family. Thinking of my aunt, I knew she wouldn't give up. I fabricated a reason, telling my parents to hide their savings, and simultaneously created a false scene of being in debt. Better safe than sorry, planning ahead prevents being exploited. Unlike her usual sloppy white t-shirt and black trousers, today Mia wore an elegant formal dress. She sat next to my aunt like a swan, yet every gesture was full of caution. As the lazy Susan rotated when her favorite dish stopped in front of her, she reached out her chopsticks, but her mother slapped her hand. Be careful, don't let soup splash on your clothes. Mia flinched, a little aggrieved, and retracted her chopsticks, watching the dish spin away. Oh, come on, what are you doing? Clothes are for wearing, why be so timid? If it gets dirty, just wash it, what's the big deal? My mother spoke up for her. That's right, Mia, eat, don't be shy. My aunt sighed, scanning the room, her gaze finally, almost imperceptibly, resting on me. Oh, this dress is very expensive to rent. My family can't afford to buy it. If it gets dirty, we'll lose the deposit. Mia kept her head bowed, almost under the table. My aunt continued, smiling faintly. My family isn't as rich as yours. My Mia isn't as capable as Lily, who buys expensive clothes without batting an eye. If my family were like your big brothers, I'd buy not just 1, but 10 outfits. In the past, my father, out of sibling loyalty and pity for his niece, would soften and pay money whenever he heard such words. This time, he looked a bit awkward, and just as he was about to speak, I subtly pressed his hand to stop him. What are you saying, Auntie? Mia is so capable. She passed the entrance exam for the normal university with a tuition waiver. She's much more talented than me. When I was in school, the congratulatory money I received wasn't even enough to pay my tuition. Mia is truly amazing. How much money has your family saved? The congratulatory money should be enough for 4 years of living expenses, right? If there's any left, could you lend my family a bit? My father recently lost money on investments and is in huge debt. I've poured all my savings into helping Dad, and now I don't have a penny left. My aunt's expression changed. She forced a laugh, seemingly remembering that 2 days ago, my father had accidentally sent a message asking for a loan in the group chat and hadn't retracted it yet. The atmosphere grew a bit awkward, and the other aunts and uncles quickly changed the subject. Previously, I often received messages from my aunt asking for favors and complaining. After that day, my aunt seemed afraid I would cling to her for a loan, so she never approached me again. However, I often caught sight of Mia at part-time jobs. In my previous life, with my help, although she still had to work part-time to help her family, it wasn't this desperate or difficult. Seeing her in a faded short-sleeved shirt, sneakers with worn-out toes, handing out flyers on the street, I suppressed the urge to help her. The tragedy of my previous life taught me that not interfering with others' karma is the best self-protection. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, it was orientation day. I met Mia again when I took her to enroll. She was still wearing the short-sleeved shirt from her part-time job. I pretended not to notice. As my parents requested, I gave her some travel expenses and said a few polite words of encouragement. "Only by studying well can you change your life," she sneered. "Only people from good families, with good jobs and good boyfriends can speak so lightly. We have nothing in common." Hearing this, I immediately knew that some people's paths are predetermined, and their suffering is self-inflicted. In this life, without Mia as a burden, my relationship with Sam progressed very smoothly. We met families, got engaged, and were preparing for the wedding. A few months passed in a flash. During this time, I rarely paid attention to Mia's activities as before, but my parents mentioned that her first few months of university hadn't gone well. It made sense. In my previous life, I had given her money and bought her daily necessities and clothes, so she didn't need to use the living expense budget her mother set for her. But now, she had to strictly adhere to her aunt's method of clocking in for living expenses. Living expenses were distributed daily. She had to clock in 3 times a day, and missing once meant double the deduction. Her living expenses were already meager, and she often missed clocking in due to part-time work, sometimes not even having enough money for the deduction, which would then be deducted from her living expenses for the next 2 days. Gradually, short on living expenses, she was forced to find other ways. After asking me for a loan several times and being vaguely declined, she started targeting her dorm mates. She stole delivered food, borrowed things, keeping them for a week without returning them. If she met someone who didn't mind, she considered the item hers. If she met someone who was particular, she not only had to return it but also faced sarcasm. It wasn't until she hit a brick wall, when the class leader reported her to the school for improper conduct, that her scholarship was revoked. In just a short semester, the school forum was filled with mockery of her. In her previous life, she didn't have to go through any of this. In fact, thanks to her refined style of dress, she was even hailed as a secret wealthy second-generation heir, flattered wherever she went. Now, thinking back, it was truly ironic. I thought her university life would continue like this, but to my surprise, when she returned for winter break, she was completely different from half a month ago. She had exquisite makeup, wore a fashionable coat, and a beautiful dress, surprising everyone. At the dinner table, she gave each of our families expensive gifts. My aunt beamed, boasting that Mia now had a promising future, having met a wealthy online boyfriend who treated her extremely well. As she said these words, she stared at me, saying, "People change, every dog has its day. Before, you praised Lily as more capable than Mia, but now it seems you spoke too soon. Some people look like they're living well, but in reality, their whole life is just a miserable, working-class existence. That's as far as they'll go." My parents were angry and wanted to retort, but I stopped them. I wasn't angry. Instead, shivers ran down my spine. I hadn't expected Mia's online dating scam scenario to come so early in this life. Could it be that my choices after reincarnation had influenced the course of events? I ate dinner with an uneasy heart, fearing that one slip-up would lead to deception. When I went to the restroom, Mia followed me. I watched her pull out an expensive lipstick and apply it in front of the mirror. Although I didn't want to say much, knowing the truth, I still casually gave her a couple of warnings to be careful. As expected, she mocked me for worrying needlessly and being narrow-minded. My boyfriend is coming to meet the family in 2 days. Then, he'll lead our whole family into a big business venture. Don't think I don't know you're jealous of me and don't want to see me live a better life than you. Don't worry, this is just the beginning. Later, there will be times when you'll have to beg me. As soon as I heard, meet and do business, alarm bells rang loudly in my heart. Back home, I immediately warned my parents never to trust any investment or business deals from my aunt's family. Mia and my aunt entered our living room, heads held high, appraising the furnishings. Tusk, I didn't realize your taste was so poor before. Look at this layout, you can tell it has bad feng shui. How about this, Lily, out of family consideration, I'll give you a chance to change your life. Tomorrow night, I'm attending an offline villa party with my boyfriend where there will be many influential figures. I don't want to embarrass him, so I've picked out a dress worth 70,000 yuan. My family is a bit short on funds. Why don't you buy it for me? Consider it an investment in me. Later, when there's a good project, I'll tell him to guide you. How about that? I frowned, suppressing the fear deep in my heart, and was about to refuse when the next second my boyfriend Sam rushed over. All right, this business deal sounds good. We'll pay whatever amount is short. Hearing his words, I was stunned. In my previous life, after I refused Mia, I also told Sam about it. He immediately recognized the scam within it. He repeatedly warned me not to fall into the trap and to stay away from Mia's family. No, Sam had never believed in money falling from the sky. He always opposed anything related to investment, so why was the person who should have vehemently opposed this acting so unusually? Could an absurd thought be forming in my head? I frowned, looking at Sam, but before I could speak, his clap cut me off. He smiled at Mia. We can cover the money for the dress. After all, this is an important moment in your life, but we're not tycoons. What if you take the money and don't buy the dress? Wouldn't we be scammed? So, to ensure the money is spent transparently, you must take us with you when you buy the dress. I'll swipe my card on the spot. How about that? My parents, not understanding what was happening, panicked when they heard him. No, whether you're a tycoon or not, there's no reason to spend money on others for no cause. Besides, 70,000 yuan is not a small amount. I don't agree. My mother also frowned. That's right, Sam. Why are you being so confused at this crucial moment? You two just got engaged. There's so much money needed later. Lily quickly talked some sense into him. Looking at his calm expression, I knew he definitely had his own plan. Before I could speak, he smiled at my parents. Precisely because we just got engaged and need a lot of money, I don't want to miss this good opportunity. Don't worry, Aunt and Uncle. Once we invest in a huge project, we'll earn back much more. I believe my cousin won't trick us, right? Mia's eyes crinkled in a smile, and she walked over to link arms with Sam. Brother-in-law is indeed understanding and farsighted. Don't worry, I'll absolutely never forget everyone. My mother rushed forward, pushing Mia away forcefully. Farsighted what? This is a scam, investment and returns. It sounds fake just listening to it. How can there be such a good thing in the world? And a wealthy second-generation heir, a big boss, why would they even look at a family like yours? It's clearly a scammer, specialized in tricking people who like shortcuts like you. If he's so rich, why can't he afford a 70,000 yuan dress, forcing someone else's daughter to borrow money? My aunt's expression immediately changed. She pushed my mother hard. Just be a little polite when talking to my daughter. Scam what? What's wrong with my family's conditions? My daughter is so beautiful and outstanding, why wouldn't he value her? You're just a country bumpkin, both sour and green and overbearing. What do you know? This is a test, an assessment to see if you people are stingy and petty. Your daughter doesn't even have a chance to get noticed by anyone, and you, without any knowledge, go slandering my family. Mia is right, you're all hypocrites pretending to be generous. You're usually good to us just to bring us down, raise yourselves up, and gain a good reputation. Once you see others have a chance to change their lives, you try every way to stop them, because you're actually jealous and don't want others to be better than you. You just want to step all over people. The knot in my heart that had been there for so long finally unraveled. It turned out that in Mia's heart, anyone who was good to her was just being condescending, fake, and looking down on her. From beginning to end, she regarded me as an imagined enemy. Once she had a chance to turn her fortunes around, the first person she would step on would be me. I couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. Even the story of the farmer and the snake wasn't this heartless. It was precisely this mentality of theirs that gave dangerous people opportunities to exploit. And that's why, in both the previous life and this one, Mia was targeted by them. She was too eager to show off in front of me. My aunt glared at us. Sam, tell me, you're so smart. Why did you end up with such a foolish family? An opportunity is handed to you on a silver platter, and you don't even know how to seize it, especially Lily. She's not even half as ambitious as my Mia. I'm telling you, opportunities only come once. If you want to prosper later, you must cling tightly to Mia's coattails. Don't believe their ridiculous scam talk. This is clearly a stepping stone to enter the upper class. They're just jealous. My father was so angry his eyes turned red. Stepping stone, my foot. You haven't even done anything useful and you're already counting other people's money. If he's so rich and loves your daughter so much, why hasn't he come to meet you? My aunt gritted her teeth, completely missing my father's hidden meaning. That's because he's busy. He sent us so many gifts, that's enough respect. Besides, he owns assets worth hundreds of millions. How could he meet common folks like you? What if you extort him? My parents were so furious they almost coughed up blood and wanted to say more, but Mia scoffed. Oh, Mom, everyone has their own ambitions. You can never wake up someone who's pretending to be asleep. It's just that Sister Lily, if you want to be a rice worm with no ideals or ambitions, then don't play dirty tricks and hinder other people's futures. Sam, tomorrow afternoon, I'll be waiting for you at Dreamland Bridal Shop. Seeing her nauseating expression, my mother desperately wanted to rush over and hit her, but Sam stopped her. All right, I'll be there on time. I'll see you both out. He escorted my aunt and Mia to the door. In the living room, my parents were red-faced with anger. What's wrong with Sam? At such a crucial moment, he can't tell right from wrong. Is 70,000 yuan a joke? What if there are even more traps then? Does he even want to continue this life? I'm telling you, if he deliberately pays that money tomorrow, don't even think about holding this wedding. I'll consider that I misjudged him. Hearing my father speak so angrily, Sam didn't appear overly agitated. A flicker of surprise crossed his calm eyes as he looked at me. Uncle, Aunt, I know you're worried about me, but rest assured, I have my reasons for doing this. Please give me a little more time. At this moment, I realized he had also been reborn. After he was hit and turned into a vegetable, Mia, fearing he would recover, staged an accident that caused his unjust death. Perhaps because he died unjustly, he had also come back. The next afternoon, Sam paid the 70,000 yuan as promised. That evening, we saw Mia post photos on her social media feed. She wore a dreamy pink-purple formal gown with a large, dazzling pink diamond necklace around her neck, leaning on the shoulder of a man in a suit. The background was a brightly lit yacht and the deep blue night sea. Her smile exuded a longing for a beautiful life. In the photo, the man's face wasn't visible, only the red mole on his neck. My aunt forwarded those photos to the group chat and, unusually, sent a red envelope with 500 yuan, calling it a small token of her future son-in-law's sincerity. Relatives who had previously been suspicious, like us, quickly dismissed their intentions to intervene after seeing such generosity. After all, what hunter would pay for their prey like that? They began to flatter them in the group, only my family remained silent from beginning to end. Indeed, no hunter would pay for their prey, but what if the value the prey brings far exceeds its own value? Ding ding, a new message popped up in the group chat from Mia. Thank you for all your well wishes. Tonight, Jason will take me to meet his parents. I'll let everyone know as soon as there's good news. Sister Lily, thank you for not giving me old clothes back then. Otherwise, Jason wouldn't have noticed me. She still went down that path. I looked at Sam, who was deep in thought beside me, and was about to ask when his phone rang. Seeing the number, 1103, I trembled. He answered. The urgent voice of a police officer came through. Based on the location, we have intercepted the human trafficking boat. Some people have been rescued, but others have been transferred to another ship at sea. Among them is your wife's sister. Currently, they have entered international waters, and we cannot continue the pursuit. Thank you for providing the lead. Almost simultaneously, my phone received a message from Mia. Lily, you bitch, don't you want to see me live a good life? Do you think reporting to the police can stop my happy life? Dream on, I'll live 100 times better than you. Reading the message, my eye twitched and I met Sam's helpless gaze. I knew this was Mia's destiny. Even if a kind person tried to pull her back, she'd think it was a trap to harm her. Facing the police's earnest persuasion, my aunt ranted and cursed, telling them not to talk nonsense. My son-in-law can't be a scammer. He gave us so much money and so many gifts. My daughter following him is definitely going to enjoy a good life. Scams, kidnappings, these are all just figments of imagination from poor, working-class people like you. My daughter is living very well. She doesn't need you to rescue her. With that, she showed the police a screenshot of a transfer message from Mia on her phone. Stop meddling in others' affairs. My family's business is none of your concern. Look, my daughter just transferred money to me again. People like you, who don't want others to live well, will never afford a decent meal of 3 savory dishes and 1 soup your entire lives. Truly a pitiful existence. Back home, Sam told me he had attached a tracking device to that formal gown. And he hadn't actually paid the so-called 70,000 yuan because the shop owner had only used a 700 yuan dress to trick her. 3 days later, a message from Mia's account appeared in the group chat. She sent a selfie with castle-like architecture in the background. I've arrived at Jason's house. His parents are very satisfied with me and have decided to lead our whole family in a business venture. In this link, there's 100,000 yuan in startup capital, also to prevent anyone from thinking we're scammers. First come, first served. Whoever gets the money, please message me privately. The next second, someone in the group boasted about how much money they grabbed. My hand paused, a little surprised. They really gave out money. But to be safe, I screenshotted it for safekeeping, and finally, using a polite tone, I said a couple of well-meaning words to everyone, then disbanded the group. Afterward, my aunt privately messaged me, cursing me for not wanting others to benefit. The other relatives who had boasted about grabbing big red envelopes also joined in, calling me narrow-minded and jealous. I ignored them, only warning my parents never to let small gains blind them. Behind it, there was definitely a huge trap. That evening, my aunt posted photos on her social media feed, showing her taking her younger brother to a Japanese restaurant that cost 3,000 yuan per person. Other relatives flaunted their shopping cart histories, filled with expensive items. My father secretly eavesdropped. He heard that they used the grabbed startup capital to invest according to instructions, doubling their profits. After this, when the second round of investment began, my aunt invited everyone to dinner. She was dressed ostentatiously, and her younger brother was also wearing all designer brands. Many relatives flocked around them, flattering them, but her eyes were fixed on my family. That's right, sister. The second round of investment money is coming back tonight, right? You invited us to dinner. Is it to witness this moving moment together? My aunt smirked at us. That's right, but part of the reason is also to thank my older brother. After all, back when my family's financial situation was normal, we had to rely on him for everything. Now that my family is prospering, it's time for us to repay everyone. From now on, Big Brother won't need to pay for meals. My family will cover everything. Mia is very promising now. She told me to have backbone. If I ever have any difficulties, just speak up, and whatever she can help with, she definitely will. Seeing her disdainful look, my father's face flushed crimson, but he remained silent. The server brought the menu. My aunt didn't even look at it, waving her hand generously and telling them to bring all the most expensive dishes. I'm not like Big Brother, who has to check prices when ordering. Now that I have money, I have to be a bit generous. We're all family, so no matter how much we eat, it's not a waste. Aunts and uncles flattered my aunt for her generosity while ordering abalone and king crab, 1 portion for each person, and Maotai and Wuliangai liquor to drink and take home, 1 bottle each. After 3 rounds of drinks, everyone had eaten their fill and began to chat idly, painting a beautiful picture of their retirement. But the next second, almost simultaneously, everyone's phones rang with notification sounds. Half sober, they eagerly opened their phones, preparing to see how much money had returned, but surprisingly, no one who saw the messages could smile. Their eyes were filled with panic. Until a distant relative suddenly stood up. No, it can't be. What's going on? Where's my money? Why has all my money been transferred away? The private room fell into a deathly silence. Then, the relatives who had participated in the investment all stood up, looking at my aunt with worried expressions. Sister, what's going on? Where's the money? My money is gone too. That's my retirement savings. Why is it all gone? In an instant, the atmosphere in the room became chaotic and panicked. My parents and the relatives who hadn't invested looked at each other. Sure enough, something had happened. My aunt's eyes were red, and she reassured everyone while calling Mia. Don't panic, it must be some mistake. Let me ask what's happening. But the ringtone sounded again and again until the other end reported that the number couldn't be reached. They completely collapsed, slumping onto their chairs. Those who were unwilling to accept it took out their phones to call, and without a doubt, the results were the same. With things at this point, the cause was already too clear. The relatives surrounded my aunt, their initial questioning turning into curses and insults, a chaotic scene. I seized the opportunity to call the police. At the police station, after tracing the funds, the police confirmed that their money had been transferred by an overseas scam syndicate. Furthermore, because the accounts were constantly circulating at a very fast rate, there was no way to recover it. Knowing they had truly been scammed, some fainted on the spot, while others rushed to punch and kick my aunt violently. Half a month later, my aunt was threatened and demanded repayment by the relatives every day. In an accidental fall down the stairs, she suffered a stroke and had to be hospitalized. The other relatives were like a band of robbers, seizing the opportunity to loot all valuable items from my aunt's house to somewhat compensate for their lost money. Watching my aunt lie in her hospital bed, a formidable relative snatched their house deed and dragged my uncle to the notary's office, forcing him to transfer the house's ownership to her. Mia's 4-year-old younger brother and my uncle were driven out of their home, left to wander the streets, burdened with millions of yuan in debt, while the hospital urged them to pay my aunt's medical bills. Blaming my aunt for all their misfortunes, my uncle snuck into the hospital in the middle of the night and pulled out her breathing tube. The next morning, when the doctor checked the room, they found her dead. Through investigation, it was discovered that the perpetrator was my uncle. He was imprisoned for intentional homicide. Mia's 4-year-old younger brother was sent to an orphanage. A month after Mia left, we received a pleading message from her. Sister, please save me. I want to go to school. I don't want to be here anymore. 200,000 yuan. They said they'll let me go for just 200,000 yuan. I haven't made any sales in half a month. Either trick acquaintances or they'll take me somewhere else to pay off debts. Please help me, sister. I promise I'll listen to you from now on. Please, I'll never be greedy again. Please, sister. I didn't reply, treated it as a scam message, and blocked her number without hesitation. She had countless opportunities to turn back, but she didn't. All that she suffered today was self-inflicted. A few days later, while scrolling through my phone, I accidentally saw a social media post talking about what would happen to people trafficked abroad if they couldn't extort ransom money and cried for help in vain. In the comments section, there was an image with a caption. Here, they control the number of people entering and exiting. Typically, they will drain your last bit of value, then leave you with just enough breath to live a life worse than death. And in that photo, even though the back was blurred out, I still saw a familiar birthmark on the bare skin, as well as fresh red bloodstains that couldn't be hidden. It was Mia. That night, I had a nightmare. Waking up, my parents and I moved out of the city.